Welcome to today's episode, the one that might just change the way you think, speak, and live. This isn't just another English podcast. This is a moment of transformation. Here, you don't only learn English, you learn how to reprogram your mind to think stronger, act braver, and speak with more confidence. I want you to imagine this episode as a turning point. Maybe you've been studying English for months, maybe for years, repeating words, learning grammar, but still waiting for that moment when everything clicks. What if I told you that moment doesn't come by accident? It begins the day you decide. Today, we'll talk about the day everything changes. The day when you stop waiting for the perfect time, the perfect conditions, or someone else's approval, and you finally say, I'm ready. Because learning English, just like success, starts with a decision. Not a wish, not a plan, but a clear choice to grow, no matter what. So, if you've been looking for motivation to move forward, to finally speak English with confidence and change your mindset, this episode is for you. Stay with me until the end, because today, you'll not only learn new English expressions, you'll learn how to think in English and believe in yourself again. Let's begin. This is the day everything changes. It's the day when everything changes. Not the day you hope for, not the day you wish for, not even the day you pray for something different. It's the day you decide. And that day is rare. Most people drift through life for years, sometimes even decades, waiting for something to change on its own. They say things like, if only my situation were different. If only my company gave me a chance. If only the economy improved. If only my partner understood. If only my boss cared. But nothing really changes. The calendar turns, birthdays pass, yet the same story continues, because nothing truly shifts until a real decision is made. A real decision isn't just a wish or a temporary desire. It's the moment you cut off every other possibility except the one you choose. You burn the bridges, you remove the way back, and you say, this is it. I'm not going back. I remember sitting years ago in a small apartment, surrounded by bills on the table, feeling the weight of promises I had made to myself, but never kept. I remember looking around and thinking, enough. That quiet moment, not a big announcement, not a dramatic scene, changed everything. Because real change doesn't happen outside of you. It begins inside. One true decision can end 1,000 bad habits. One decision can rewrite years of wandering. The past stops being a prison and becomes a lesson. People often wait for a sign, a flash of inspiration, a miracle, a push from the universe. But the greatest transformation never starts from the outside. It starts the day someone stands up inside themselves and says, I'm done drifting. Today, I turn my life around. That's when a new life begins. Not when you hope things will get better someday, but when you decide that they will. The world doesn't respond to good intentions. It responds to resolve. Your family, your friends, your environment, they all feel it when you've truly made that inner shift. Not when you talk about it, but when you show it. Your walk changes. Your voice gains confidence. Your eyes show focus. The confusion melts away, and your path becomes clear. Not because it's suddenly easy, but because it's finally chosen. If you look back at your life, you'll see those moments, the quiet turning points when you decided to change. They weren't loud or dramatic, but they were real. And if you want to reprogram your life, or even your English, remember this. It all begins with a decision. Decide to grow. Decide to speak better. Decide to think in English. Because fluency, just like success, doesn't come from wishing, it comes from deciding. It's the day you quit that habit, the day you walked away from that job or relationship, the day you finally said, enough is enough. Those are the true turning points in life. And they don't always come with noise or drama. Sometimes they're quiet. Sometimes it's a whisper in the middle of the night, a single sentence you say to a friend, or just a long look in the mirror when you realize something must change. You feel it deep inside, and somehow the people around you feel it too. That's the real power of a true decision. Ask yourself, has that day come for you? Have you made that real, deep decision? The one that cuts away every other option? If not, maybe today is that day. Not another wish, not another excuse. The turning point isn't waiting for you somewhere out there. It's right here, in this very moment. It begins when you decide your story changes now. Not when life gets easier, not when someone else steps in, but when you draw the line and step beyond it. The day you turn your life around isn't marked on any calendar. It happens the second you say, this is it. No more drifting. From this day forward, everything changes because I've decided it will. Let's be honest, real change rarely starts with excitement. Inspiration feels wonderful. It gets you out of bed and gives you a short burst of energy. But lasting transformation, it doesn't begin on a day you feel motivated. It begins on a day you feel tired, truly tired. Not just a little uncomfortable or slightly disappointed, but exhausted from your own excuses. It starts when the pain of staying where you are becomes heavier than the fear of what's next. People think growth begins with smiles and sunshine, but more often it begins with frustration, with sleepless nights staring at the ceiling, asking yourself, how did I get here? How long have I been tolerating this? You feel it, the anger, the wasted time, the unused potential. That's when the door to change opens. Life has a way of getting your attention, sometimes gently, sometimes with a shock. Pain isn't your enemy. It's a messenger. It's saying, you were not born for this mediocrity. You weren't meant to just survive, pay bills, and drift through life half awake. There comes a moment when staying the same hurts more than the effort it takes to grow. And that's when everything shifts. That's when people act. Maybe you've felt that too. When the job that once felt like your future now feels like a cage. Or when the relationship that once brought you joy now feels empty and routine. Those feelings aren't random. They're signals. They're your mind and heart saying, it's time. And just like learning English, this change begins with one brave decision. The moment you decide, I will grow, I will improve, I will speak with confidence, your path begins to open. Because every time you say enough, every time you step forward, every time you choose progress over comfort, you are reprogramming your life and your English at the same time. The job that once felt like your future now feels like a cage. The relationship that once brought you joy now feels empty, like a habit you keep repeating just because it's familiar. The goals that once excited you now seem far away, covered in dust, waiting for you to wake up and claim them again. You start to feel that quiet, burning truth inside. You've outgrown the life you're living, and that realization hurts. It's uncomfortable because it forces you to face what you've been avoiding, the parts of your life where you've been settling. But that pain is sacred. It's not your enemy. It's your wake-up call. It's life knocking on your door saying, you are meant for more than this. The truth is, Every major change begins in discomfort. Growth isn't born in peace and pleasure. It's born in the tension between who you are and who you could become. That tension is the most powerful force in human life. And if you're feeling it right now, don't run from it. Use it. Because that discomfort is trying to pull you forward into a higher version of yourself. You see, comfort zones are strange things. They're not actually comfortable. They're just familiar. We stay in them because they're predictable. We know the pain there. We've made peace with it. But the longer you stay in a comfort zone, the smaller your world becomes. You start saying things like, maybe this is enough, or I'm not meant for more, or it's too late. Those aren't truths. They're lies your fear tells you to keep you still. But the moment you say, I'm done playing small, everything changes. You stop living on autopilot. You stop being a passenger in your own story. You grab the wheel and steer your life back into motion. That's the day real growth begins. And here's something powerful. This same principle applies to learning English or anything else you truly want. Most people say they want to speak fluently. They want to sound confident. They want to think in English naturally. But wanting isn't deciding. Wishing isn't commitment. You can watch hundreds of videos, repeat vocabulary, memorize grammar, but until you decide that English will become part of your daily identity, nothing changes. The turning point comes when you stop saying, I'm trying to learn English, and start saying, I'm becoming an English speaker. Do you see the difference? One is temporary. The other is a declaration of identity. When you say, I'm trying, your brain gives you permission to fail. It treats it as optional. But when you say, I am, you anchor it into who you are. This is the same logic behind all transformation. You don't achieve success and then believe you're capable. You believe first, and your actions follow. The inner shift always comes before the outer change. So, what if today became your turning point? Not just in life, but in your English. What if you decided that from this day forward, every podcast you listen to, every video you watch, every word you speak becomes part of your training? What if you decided that learning English isn't a task, it's a lifestyle? Because language isn't just about words, it's about expansion. Every time you learn a new phrase, you expand your mind. You open a door to a new world, a new connection, a new version of yourself. English isn't just a skill, it's a key. And that key opens the door to more opportunities, more confidence, and more freedom. But like every meaningful transformation, it demands something from you: consistency, focus, and faith. You must believe that every small effort matters, even when progress feels invisible. Just like going to the gym, fluency doesn't come from one big workout. It comes from showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it. You might say, but I'm tired. I've tried before. I've failed before. Yes, but so has everyone who ever succeeded. The difference between those who make it and those who don't isn't talent. It's persistence. It's the decision to keep showing up, especially when the results are slow. Think about Thomas Edison, 10,000 failed attempts before he created the light bulb. He didn't see failure as an end. He saw it as data. He said, I didn't fail. I just found 10,000 ways that didn't work. That's how you must approach learning English, or any dream you have. Every mistake, every hesitation, every forgotten word isn't failure. It's feedback. It's proof that you're doing the work, that you're in motion, that you're alive. And motion, not perfection, is what transforms lives. The biggest breakthroughs don't come when you finally get everything right. They come when you refuse to quit, even when everything feels wrong. Because your future self, the one who speaks fluently, who lives confidently, who feels free, is built from the decisions you make today. So let's get honest. What are you waiting for? The perfect moment? The right time? The truth is, there is no right time. There is only now. Every day you delay your decision, your dream grows weaker. Every day you postpone your start, your confidence shrinks a little more. But every day you act, even in a small way, one paragraph, one word, 1 minute, your dream grows stronger. You don't need to do everything today. You just need to begin. Read that article in English. Listen to that podcast. Write a few sentences about your day. Speak to yourself out loud. Every repetition builds a new pattern in your brain, a new program of confidence, strength, and fluency. And when you do it consistently, something magical happens. One day, without even realizing it, you'll catch yourself thinking in English. You'll express an idea effortlessly. You'll understand a phrase that used to confuse you. That's the reward for your discipline, for choosing persistence over perfection. So, if you've been waiting for permission, this is it. You don't need anyone else's approval to start. You don't need to be perfect to speak. You don't need to feel ready to take action. You just need to decide. Decide that this is your moment. Decide that this is your turning point. Decide that English and your growth are not just goals, but your destiny. Because the truth is, the day everything changes isn't written on a calendar. It's the day you stand up, look at your reflection, and say, "This is it. I'm done waiting. I'm ready." And from that moment forward, everything shifts. Not because the world changes, but because you do. You stop wishing and you start creating. You stop learning English out of fear and start learning out of purpose. You stop seeing yourself as a student and start seeing yourself as a communicator, someone who has something valuable to share with the world. So, as you listen to this, remember, this isn't just a podcast. This is your mirror. The words you hear are not motivation. They're an invitation to rise, to believe, to decide. Let today be the day you turn it around in life, in mindset, and in English. Because once you make that decision, once you choose growth over comfort, your story will never be the same again. I learned a long time ago that success, happiness, and confidence, they don't start with luck or talent. They start with philosophy. The way you think shapes the way you live. And if you've been feeling stuck, tired, or uninspired, maybe it's not your circumstances. Maybe it's your thinking. Because your mind is a garden and your thoughts are the seeds. You can't plant weeds and expect roses to grow. Think about it. If your philosophy says life is hard, then life will always feel like a struggle. If you believe I'm not good enough, you'll find evidence for that everywhere you look. But if you start saying, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm becoming better, your brain begins to find proof of that too. Your philosophy is your inner operating system. It's the code that runs your life. And the best part? You can rewrite it. That's what reprogramming your mind is all about. Not forcing fake positivity, but consciously choosing beliefs that serve your future instead of limiting it. Because the thoughts you repeat become the world you live in. If you've ever said, I wish I could speak English fluently, that's already a hint about your philosophy. You see it as a wish, not a decision. But if you shift it to, I am learning English every day, or I am becoming fluent step by step, your mind accepts that as your new identity. That's when real progress begins. Because fluency, just like success, doesn't start with perfect grammar. It starts with a new mindset. Your mind obeys what you tell it. If you constantly repeat, it's too hard, your brain will find ways to prove it's hard. But if you start saying, I can figure this out, your brain will go to work, finding solutions instead of excuses. That's how powerful your philosophy is. I want you to pause for a second and think. What are the hidden beliefs that have been guiding your life? What's the story you've been telling yourself about what's possible for you? Maybe it's something like, I'm too old to start over, or I'm just not a language person, or people like me don't succeed. Whatever it is, it's time to challenge it. Because the only thing that separates the person who changes their life from the one who stays the same is the courage to question their old philosophy. You can't build a new future with outdated thinking. You can't speak confidently in English if your inner voice keeps saying, you'll sound stupid. You have to catch those old scripts and rewrite them in your own words. When you upgrade your philosophy, you stop being a victim of your thoughts and become the architect of your destiny. You start seeing effort as an investment, not a punishment. You start valuing learning, not fearing mistakes. You start realizing that every day you practice English, every time you listen, read, or speak, you're not just learning a language, you're training your mind to think differently. And that's why I always tell my students, English fluency isn't about memorizing words. It's about transforming your philosophy of learning. It's realizing that mistakes are not failures. They're progress markers. Every time you make one, it means you're in motion. And motion is the proof that you're alive, that you're growing, that you're on your way to mastery. So here's a question for you. What's your philosophy about growth? Do you see challenges as walls or as doorways? Do you see effort as suffering or as a step toward strength? Do you see learning English as a difficult obligation or as an opportunity to connect with millions of people around the world? The answers to those questions define your results, not talent, not luck, but philosophy. If you've been telling yourself, I'll start later, or I'll get serious when I have time, that's a philosophy too. And it's stealing your future. Replace it with, I start now, even with 5 minutes, and watch how everything begins to shift. Because once your mind accepts a new way of thinking, your habits follow. And when your habits change, your life changes. You stop needing motivation every morning because discipline becomes natural. You stop doubting yourself because belief becomes automatic. You stop wishing and start doing. So maybe today is that day, the day you stop running from discomfort and start using it. The day you stop saying, I'll try, and start saying, I will. The day you decide that your philosophy from now on will be one of strength, clarity, and persistence. And as you keep walking this path, as you keep learning, growing, and speaking, remember this. Language learning is not just about communication, it's about evolution. Every English word you master, every idea you understand, every conversation you dare to have, it's shaping the person you're becoming. That's why I want you to listen to this podcast not just with your ears, but with your mind. Don't just learn English, use it to build your future. Speak it with purpose. Think in it with power. Let it become part of your new philosophy. Because in the end, the day you decide to change your philosophy, that's the day everything changes. Your life, your habits, your English, all of it begins to transform. Not tomorrow, not someday, but today. So take a deep breath, look in the mirror, and say it to yourself. I'm ready. I'm done waiting. I'm changing my philosophy. From this moment on, I decide who I become. That's where all greatness begins. And that's where your journey to fluent, confident English truly starts. When you truly want to change your life, you must first change your mind. That is where the real shift begins. If your beliefs about work are weak, you will hate Mondays and only wait for Fridays. But with a new philosophy, you say, "This is my craft. This is my chance to bring value." Then every hour becomes an investment, not a burden. Same job, new approach, and everything starts to feel different. The same is true for money. If you see money as an enemy, it will always run away from you. If you see it as a tool, a helper, it can work for you. It all begins with how you think. And what about time? Some people kill time, others invest it. We all have the same 24 hours, but we don't all get the same results. Now, look at your own potential. Do you speak to yourself with doubt, or do you build yourself up with strong words? Do you let the world write your story, or do you hold the pen? These are not small questions. They shape your choices, your habits, and your outcomes. When I, as a girl, started asking better questions and challenging the ideas I had collected over the years, my turnaround began. I understood I could trade my old philosophy for a better one. Instead of thinking, "I can't," I asked, "How could I?" Instead of, "That's not for people like me," I asked, "What if it is?" I stopped blaming the economy, the weather, or my background, and I started upgrading my thinking. You cannot build a new life with the same old mind. Here is the good news. Your philosophy is not stone. You can examine it, question it, and improve it. Read good books, listen to wise voices, and, most importantly, keep asking why. Why do I think this way about work, about money, about myself? If you don't like the answer, you have the power to change it. Don't only get emotional, get thoughtful. Don't only react, reflect. If the life you want needs a strong foundation, make sure your ideas are strong enough to carry it. When you change the way you think, you open the door for everything else to change too. Your future doesn't start with circumstances, it starts with philosophy. Decision is the ignition, but philosophy is the engine. When the engine runs well, the road ahead becomes brighter, wider, and full of possibility. And now we reach a common crossroads: responsibility. The day you turn your life around is the day you stop waiting for someone else to do it for you. No more blaming, no more pointing fingers, no more waiting for a rescue. That day, you choose ownership. A quick note for your English: build the same philosophy. Don't say, "I'm bad at English." Say, "I'm training every day." Invest 10 minutes daily. Listen, read aloud, write a short paragraph. Small actions, big results. Your new English life starts with your new English mindset. There comes a moment in every person's life when you realize that no one is coming to save you, that you are the one who must take the wheel. At first, that truth can feel heavy. You might resist it. You might want to hold on a little longer to the comfort of blame, to the thought that maybe your boss, your past, or the world itself is the reason you're stuck. Because for a while, blaming feels good. It takes the pressure off. It gives you an explanation. But deep down, you know the truth. The more you blame, the less power you have. Every time you give away responsibility, you also give away your strength. You trade your ability to change for a temporary excuse, but excuses are cheap and power is priceless. Responsibility is not a burden, it's the greatest privilege you have. It means the outcome belongs to you. The victory, the correction, the lesson, all of it. That's where true change is born. The turning point comes the moment you look in the mirror and say, if it's going to change, it's up to me. If it's going to get better, I'll be the one to make it happen. There was a time in my life when I wanted to blame everything and everyone. Too many bills, not enough time, too little support. I could have spent a lifetime building a perfect case for why things weren't working, but then I realized something powerful. That case was costing me my future. Blame keeps you chained to the past. Responsibility frees you to create the future. The moment you stop waiting for someone else to rescue you, you become the rescuer. The moment you stop waiting for a lucky break and start becoming the break, everything changes. You stop saying, somebody ought to do something, and you realize that somebody is you. Taking responsibility doesn't mean you control everything. Life will still throw challenges, setbacks, and surprises your way. But what you do control is your response. And that's where your real power lives. Responsibility is not about guilt, it's about response. It's the ability to act, not to excuse. It's not about perfection, it's about ownership. Even if you didn't cause it, you can choose how you'll handle it. That's what separates those who stay stuck from those who grow. It's not the popular message. People want easy answers, but the truth is, the best lives are built by those who take ownership of both their victories and their defeats. When it goes well, learn from it. When it falls apart, own it. Fix it. Grow from it. That's how you earn real confidence, not the fake kind that hides behind words, but the quiet, unshakable confidence that comes from doing the work and staying the course. When you reclaim responsibility, you stop drifting. You become the captain of your ship. The winds will blow, the seas will rise, but you're holding the wheel now. And that's the day you turn it around. That's the moment everything changes. The moment you stop outsourcing your destiny and start owning it completely. From that day forward, you live life on your own terms. You stop being at the mercy of the economy, the news, or anyone's opinion. Because the truth is, no one's coming to save you. There's no secret hero, no perfect timing, no magical solution. The person you've been waiting for is already here. It's you. So pick up the pen, write the next chapter, take the next step. You'll quickly discover something profound. No one can do it for you, but you can do it for yourself. Ownership is where transformation begins. Take it, use it, and build something you're proud of. Because the day you reclaim responsibility, you also reclaim your future. But here's the thing. Making the decision is only the first step. What keeps the turnaround alive is discipline. Emotion gets you started. Inspiration might light the fire, but discipline keeps it burning. Motivation fades, discipline remains. Think about how many times you felt inspired, full of energy, ready to change everything. You say to yourself, this time will be different. And for a few days, maybe even a couple of weeks it is. You wake up early, you push harder, you feel unstoppable. But then, the feeling fades. The old habits creep back in. The momentum slows. That's why discipline matters more than motivation. Motivation is the spark, but discipline is the engine. It's what carries you when the excitement is gone. It's the bridge between decision and achievement, the daily act of doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. Anyone can start, few are willing to finish, but the difference between temporary change and lasting transformation is always discipline. When you build discipline into your life, you start stacking small victories. You wake up a little earlier, you save a little more, you read another chapter, You go for that walk. You repeat the routine until it becomes who you are. It's not about massive leaps, it's about steady steps. And over time, those steps compound. One day, you look back and realize you're living in the harvest of seeds you planted with discipline. I remember making promises to myself and breaking them. Every time I did, it hurt. I lost trust in myself. But the day I decided to keep even the smallest promise, like reading 10 minutes a day or finishing a task before sleeping, that was the day everything began to shift. That's when I started to rebuild that trust. That's when I understood that self-discipline is self-respect. That's where it begins, not with grand gestures or dramatic announcements, but with tiny commitments kept. You brush your teeth. You write in your journal. You turn off the television and pick up a book. You do the small things again and again until they become habits, until they become you. Some people wait for motivation to strike, but discipline says, do it anyway. Don't negotiate with your alarm clock. Don't argue with your goals. Don't wait for the right mood. Act now, because the price of success isn't paid in comfort. It's paid in consistency. If you want the reward, pay the price. Not once, but every day. That's how transformation happens. Not all at once, but one disciplined act at a time. It's the quiet, unseen effort that compounds into power. It's the proof that you've stopped waiting for permission and started living with purpose. And when it comes to learning English, it's the same truth. Fluency doesn't come from bursts of motivation. It comes from daily discipline, from showing up, repeating, practicing, even when you don't feel like it. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. That's how you stop wishing and start becoming. That's how you turn it around, one day, one decision, one disciplined act at a time. That's how you build a new identity, not through wishful thinking, but through discipline. That's how the turnaround becomes real. Because discipline isn't just a routine, it's the backbone of your character. It's easy to do what's right when everything's comfortable, when people are watching, when the reward is close. But the real test comes when no one sees you, when you're tired, when the excuses start whispering, you can skip today, it doesn't matter. That's the moment discipline steps up and says, no, I made a promise to myself, and I intend to keep it. Don't mistake discipline for punishment. Discipline is not restriction, it's liberation. It frees you from regret, from the weight of unfinished goals, from the pain of another broken promise. It's not about living a hard life, it's about living a life you're proud of. You always choose your pain, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. One weighs ounces, the other weighs tons. And regret? It lasts far longer. So let's keep it real. Don't try to change everything overnight. That's not how transformation works. Pick one thing, one area of your life, and stick with it. Build the muscle of discipline one rep at a time. Soon, the process will get easier. The resistance fades, the habits begin to stick. Momentum builds, and suddenly you realize you're no longer forcing yourself. You've become the kind of person who simply does it. When you look at people who've turned their lives around, you'll see something powerful. It's not luck, not talent, not even opportunity that separates them. It's discipline, the quiet, consistent willingness to do what others won't, to keep going when motivation is long gone, to show up even when no one is watching. The day you truly turn your life around is the day you say, no more excuses. From now on, discipline is the new standard. Remember, emotion starts the engine, but discipline drives the miles. Build the bridge and walk it daily, step by step, promise by promise, until one day you find yourself on the other side, living the life you once only imagined. A new life, built one disciplined act at a time. But here's something most people overlook: the power of associations. Because when you turn your life around, it's not just your habits that must change, it's your environment too. The people you spend time with, the voices you let into your mind, the standards you allow to shape your decisions. All of it matters more than you think. You can't plant new seeds in old soil and expect a different crop. If you want a new direction, you need a new environment. Take a good look at your circle. Who are you spending your days with? Are they cheering you on or holding you back? Do they expand your thinking or limit your dreams? Sometimes the people who love you most are the ones most afraid to see you grow. Your progress shines a light on what they've avoided in themselves. That doesn't make them bad. It just means they can't walk the next part of your journey with you. Growth requires courage, and sometimes that courage means letting go, not out of anger, not out of pride, but out of commitment to your own evolution. Because the truth is this: the next level of your life won't come from the same conversations, the same habits, or the same circle. You need new energy, new voices, new examples. Surround yourself with people who remind you of your potential, not your past. When you change your associations, you change your destiny. That's how new standards are born. That's how you keep your turnaround alive. And the same truth applies to learning English. Your environment is not just a background, it's the invisible force that shapes who you become. If you want to transform your life, if you truly want to unlock the next level of yourself, you must also transform what surrounds you. Because you can't build a new identity while living in the same mental environment that kept you small. Think about it. If you spend every day hearing only your native language, speaking the same old phrases, consuming the same content, your brain has no reason to change. It stays in its comfort zone. And comfort is the enemy of progress. But the moment you begin to fill your life with English, when you start listening, reading, thinking, even dreaming in it, your brain begins to adapt. It starts to rewire itself, to see English not as a subject to study, but as a new part of who you are. You can't expect to speak fluently while living in silence. You can't expect your vocabulary to grow if you never plant the words. You can't expect your listening to improve if you don't feed your ears the sound of the language. Fluency isn't built in classrooms. It's built in your daily environment. If you want a new result, you must create a new world around you, an English world. Start small. Change the language on your phone. Listen to English podcasts when you walk. Watch interviews with people who inspire you. Read one page of an English book each night. Leave a sticky note on your wall with a new word every morning. Create an environment where English isn't a task. It's a part of your reality. When you change what surrounds you, you change what you absorb. When you change what you absorb, you change what you express. But it's not only about listening. It's also about people. Who are you talking to? Who's in your circle? Do they inspire you to practice English, or do they laugh when you try? Do they support your learning, or do they make you doubt yourself? Sometimes, the biggest change you can make isn't in your grammar. It's in your company. Surround yourself with people who are also learning, who understand the struggle and the reward. Join communities, online groups, or classes where people share your goals. Talk to others who are passionate about growth, not perfection. You'll notice something powerful. When you're surrounded by English, you start to think in English. Your inner voice begins to shift. You stop translating every word and start feeling the language. It becomes natural, effortless, part of your rhythm. That's when learning stops being something you do and becomes something you are. Learning English is not just about memorizing words, it's about building identity. Every phrase you learn expands your world. Every mistake you make teaches you resilience. Every conversation you have builds confidence. It's not only language training, it's mental training. You're rewiring your mind to communicate, to connect, to express yourself on a higher level. And just like in life, you must protect your mental environment. Don't let negativity sneak in. Don't let others convince you that it's too late or too hard. Those voices don't know your potential. Replace them with English voices that lift you, motivational podcasts, teachers who inspire, creators who speak about growth. Let your world become a classroom without walls. The more you expose yourself to English, the more it becomes part of your thought process. You'll begin to notice progress in the smallest things, understanding lyrics, catching jokes in movies, feeling emotion in a quote you once had to translate. Those moments are proof that your brain is evolving. Remember this: fluency doesn't come from talent, it comes from exposure, repetition, and discipline, the same principles that build success in any area of life. You don't need to live in an English-speaking country to think and grow in English. You just need to build that environment around you. Imagine this: every morning you wake up, you hear English, you think English, you speak English. You're programming your brain for mastery, one word at a time. You don't even realize it, but each time you listen, each time you speak, you're planting seeds. And one day, when you least expect it, you'll notice you're fluent, you're confident, you're free. That's the magic of consistency. That's the power of association. So ask yourself, who and what are you surrounding yourself with? Are your days filled with the language of progress or the noise of distraction? Do you give your mind the chance to grow, or do you let it sit in the same comfort that keeps most people stuck? To learn English is to learn discipline. It's to learn patience, focus, and courage. It's to fall 100 times and stand up again. Every mistake you make in English is proof that you're learning. It's not a failure, it's data, it's feedback. It's the process doing its job. Let English become the environment in which you evolve. Listen while you cook, repeat phrases while you walk, write thoughts in English before you sleep. Talk to yourself out loud, even if it feels strange. The more you use it, the more natural it becomes. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Create it. And if you ever doubt yourself, remember this: every fluent speaker you admire once stood exactly where you are. They stumbled through their first sentences. They forgot words. They were nervous too, but they kept going. They surrounded themselves with the right voices, the right influences, the right environment, and they transformed. You can do the same. You just need to decide. Because the truth is, learning English isn't only about communication, it's about transformation. It gives you access to knowledge, to opportunities, to people who think differently and live boldly. It opens the door to a global mind where your ideas can travel beyond borders. When you learn English, you don't just change your vocabulary, you change your destiny. You gain freedom, the freedom to learn from anyone, to connect with the world, to express who you truly are. So protect that dream, feed it. Build your English world day by day. Let every word, every lesson, every small win remind you that you are growing. Surround yourself with English. Read it, hear it, live it. Because your environment creates your experience, and your experience creates your future. And one day, you'll look back and realize you didn't just learn English, you rebuilt your mind, your confidence, and your life. That's how new standards are born. That's how you keep your turnaround alive. Not by wishing, not by waiting, but by surrounding yourself with the right voices and becoming one of them.